We have some more significant breaking news from the NHL. The Flyers are terminating Ryan Johansen. We'll discuss what's going on and what it could lead to, what it all means coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have some more significant breaking news. It's been quite a busy news cycle here the past 3 or 4 days for the middle of August, even dating back to last week when we had the offer sheets from the St. Louis Blues. Not something you expect, but hey, I welcome it. It's been great to have a lot more interesting stuff to talk about. So for now, the latest news is that the Philadelphia Flyers are placing veteran forward Ryan Johansen on unconditional waivers for the purpose of contract termination. Now, we were not expecting to see Ryan Johansen suit up and play for the Philadelphia Flyers. Of course, last year at the NHL trade deadline back in March, they acquired him from the Colorado Avalanche. Now, of course, the Avalanche had acquired him from Nashville Predators at 50% money retained. He didn't really work out there, so they flipped him to the Flyers, and he was involved in the Sean Walker trade. Now, immediately after being traded from the Avalanche to the Flyers, he claimed he was injured and could not play, which I think the Flyers kind of found a little bit suspicious at the time. Why did the Avalanche not tell us about this? And it's probably because he never told the Avalanche about it either. He was claiming to have, I believe it was like a hip issue, and essentially saying that it's something that he really shouldn't have been playing with, but he never really got into it with the Avalanche, and that essentially he really needed to take time to look after it, and he didn't think he was going to be able to play. So they went along with that and had their own doctors check him out. And maybe they did discover an injury of some kind. I'm guessing if they did, it wasn't overly significant. And now here we are getting ready to start the next season. And we would assume that he's not wanting to play, not wanting to report, claiming he can't play. Now, Elliotte Friedman put out the information just in the past little bit here, last 20, 30 minutes, saying that this was happening. He was going on waivers. And it is believed, according to Friedman, that it is because of the injury. The Flyers are claiming the reason is material breach. So that means that he's not living up to his end of the contract. So they feel they have every right and justification here to terminate this contract and not pay him any longer. The hit comes off their salary cap and the whole 9 yards. So Johansson has 1 year on his contract remaining, and he was due to earn $8 million. So for what Friedman is saying, which makes a lot of sense, and you would fully suspect here that Ryan Johansen will grieve this termination. We saw the same thing in a different reason, but when Corey Perry was terminated last year by the Chicago Blackhawks, they ended up putting him through waivers. They terminated the contract. Corey grieved, and it was kind of done privately behind the scenes. We never really did hear about it, but there was a settlement, and that settlement did result in a partial cap hit for the Blackhawks for the rest of the year. So while the league didn't really take issue with the Blackhawks for terminating the contract, they also didn't take issue with Corey Perry and allowed him to continue to sign elsewhere and play with the Edmonton Oilers. So there was no issues on either side, but they did agree that essentially that the Blackhawks were obviously in fault if they had to pay up some of the money. So I think in Corey Perry's case, I believe he had signed for $4 million. He was still owed around $3 million or thereabouts at the time of the termination, and I think he got around $2 million. Like it was all prorated, I believe. So then of course he signed in Edmonton, basically for I think it was around $1 million, right? So he kind of made himself whole. So he got enough on the Blackhawks to make up for what he didn't get on the new contract from the Oilers. Now, whether or not Ryan Johansen will attempt to come back, sign somewhere else, I don't know. But we will say this because we do know that it's been well documented, and I can't speak for the player, but there's been lots of people confirm that Ryan Johansen does not like John Tortorella. And he obviously, that must be pretty deep and intense for him to absolutely refuse to report and risk losing lots of money over it. Of course, those two did have a history in Columbus. So I don't know. I mean, obviously, like I said, we can't talk for the player. We don't know. But it sounds like he's still claiming the injury, that he can't play. And the Flyers at this point sound like they're not buying it. And they are terminating his contract. And like, if you're not going to play, you're not going to get paid. And I guess they will have an arbitration hearing, assuming Johansson does fight it and grieve it, which for that much money you would expect. If he doesn't grieve it, then he's just admitting that, yeah, you know what, I was lying, and whatever. So I don't know. And a lot of it will depend if he just decides to start signing somewhere else too, right? There's lots of things that can happen here. I would think for Johansson to have a chance to win his case at all, and if he does grieve it and want to get some of that money, he can't sign and play somewhere else. If he can't play for Philly, he can't play anywhere, right? So I don't think we're going to see him sign a contract and go anywhere else. But, interesting for sure. So whether or not it turns out to be that he's, not being honest or not, only time will tell. And, of course, that's all, to some degree, in opinion. But some people do think that it's his absolute disdain for John Tortorella, which is why he refused to report to Philadelphia when he was traded there, saying he was hurt, was just a cop-out. It's kind of what some are kind of going with. And obviously the Flyers must believe that to some extent if they're claiming material breach and are now trying to terminate his contract. So the contract will be terminated officially tomorrow when it goes through the waiver process. But probably not the last we've heard of this. So stay tuned for more as the story evolves. Let me know your thoughts on this situation as well in the comments. We'll discuss further. I'll be back a little bit later to recap the rest of the news of the day as well. So stay tuned for more content here in Top Shelf Hockey. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.